answered that he hadn't cooked anything. She told me I needed to do my duty as a wife and cook for my family. My coward of a husband still wasn't looking at me. I just walked away and ordered takeaway. I dished up for me and my kids, and we sat at the table to eat. My husband and his parents served themselves and joined us. My mother-in-law was still going on about what was wrong with me and why I was a thing. I asked my husband if he had anything to say. He said his mother had a point, and it wouldn't hurt if I acted more like a proper woman and took better care of my home and children. He said tradition was tradition for a reason, and it was kind of insulting that I thought I was too good for how he was raised. This is where I might be the jerk. I told him tradition won't allow a man on $35,000 a year to support a family of 5, and he was too broke to be so sexist. He looked hurt, and I saw tears welling in his eyes. He excused himself from the table.
Everything okay? What are you doing?
I peeled the potatoes.
What are you peeling potatoes for? I peeled some this morning.
I know, but we need more.
How much are you cooking for these people?
It's a lot of people.
There's 3 of them.
And us.
Then that makes 7.
And the family.
What? Family? You invited the whole family?
Of course.
Is everything okay? What are you doing?
I peeled the potatoes.
What are you peeling potatoes for? I peeled some this morning.
I know, but we need more.
How much are you cooking for these people?
It's a lot of people.
There's 3 of them.
And us.
Then that makes 7.
And the family.
Family? You invited the whole family?
Of course.
Is everything okay? What are you doing?
I peeled the potatoes.
I put athlete's foot cream on my face last night, and here is why. This girl I follow on TikTok, her name is Nina Poole. She has autism, and she finds skincare products that are simpler and easier because she's been through it. She knows what's.
Can couples relate?
All I want is a chubby girl with tattoos that likes to get weird.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but I wanted to remind you that you are not responsible for the version of you that
It really pisses off a certain demographic when you tell them you don't like their show, where the whole first episode is a play on a story. I think
Your hands are huge, bro.
Let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. One more night. Let's get down to business.
Met your twin sister.
He discarded me for the last time. Dad begged me to be reasonable, but I walked away. Then I invited.
Childless.
I don't know what you expected.
The truth is,
So exciting to see you. Want to see me fall? I will never sell my soul. Want some shit that they ain't seen before. Dream chasing, catching all my goals.
Y'all like Palestine. I don't give a fuck about Palestine. I like literal issues here that we need to deal with. If you have the luxury of being able to care about Palestine, that's your prerogative. But not all of us do, and not all of us give a fuck.
I'm so glad somebody said this. Believing that caring about Palestine is a luxury just goes to show how fucking stupid you are. The reason you're struggling to pay your bills is because instead of taking care of you and the thousands of other people who are struggling, the US decided to give over $260 billion to Israel. So even with your selfish mindset, you should care about what's going on overseas. You should want the US.
So you and all your siblings' names start with a T and have very similar names?
Okay,
Because we all J's.
you're all James.
Jason Jr. Just
See, we're Tyler, Tyrell, and Tyler.
see?
But then we're also Tyler James, Tyrell Jackson, Tyler Jacob. I don't know what they were doing.
So who was more confused calling y'all? Being called them calling you all, your parents or y'all? Because we would get confused as soon as we heard J, we'd answer to anything with J.
Yeah, we just all came downstairs. It was that was it. That's just it. Like you hear her stuttering from T's, and we just all get up and head down. And we'll figure it out when we get down there. We had to split it up with nicknames.
Okay,
Because we can all technically be Ty,
okay.
and all technically be TJ. So we had to pick who got what. I got Ty.
Okay.
My middle brother got TJ, and the baby boy got Trey because he's a third. It's like, here, we're just gonna throw you 3. We're just gonna call you 3.
So you and all your siblings' names start with a T and have very similar names?
Okay.
Because y'all Jays.
You're all Jays.
Jason Jr.
See, we're Tyler, Tyrell, and Tyler.
See?
But then we're also Tyler James, Tyrell Jackson, Tyler Jacob. I don't know what they were doing.
My wife's boss gave each employee a special gift, but my wife, who basically runs the entire thing in her office.
Look me in the eye and tell me you're really upset.
I think I see a smile coming on.
What would you like to say to everyone today?
So how you been? Good. Good. You keep asking me about your sister's dad's house. Why do you want to go?
I just feel like I've always wanted to see sissies at like their dads and like what they do there. Because they always come back having like fun stories and stuff. It's fun.
Put a finger down. Oh, it is. Huh?
So Trump is now saying that there's millions and millions of people coming across the border to take black jobs. Well, here's the thing. My black jobs is a partner at a law firm. So if there's millions and millions of people who come across the border and take my job, open that border all the way up. Bust it wide open. So Trump is now saying that there's millions.
Spell cold water using 2 letters only.
What else can we do?
Dan Addison failed to.
My fiance was hurt and shot. I just found out.
Yes, he's a hit maker, songwriter, superstar, right? And a fucking deadbeat that should never say more life pictograms.
Commercials we watched growing up in the 80s, everyone will listen.
What is the biggest secret you've kept from your parents?
I'm not gonna be sauce that lost his damn mind.
I'm crazy, motherfucker, I'm crazy!
You sing this way.
She told me since they were paying for my sister's college, they had no money to pay for mine. So it would be better for me to start working immediately after graduation and wait until my sister finished university to see if they could afford something for me. This basically meant that I would either go to college with student loans or take 4 years off and stay at their house, where they also made me pay rent. It became obvious that she was trying to get me to throw a tantrum because she didn't like my simple reply. I told her I was fine with not going to university and never wanted to go in the first place. This was a flat-out lie, but I figured I could use her words against her. My dad later tried getting on my nerves with my mom, but he failed as well. After a whole lifetime of terrible parenting, I never had any expectations towards my education. A few years passed and I worked. She told me since they were paying.
I finally say, I just won't.
She told me since they were paying hard, got a scholarship. Not to anywhere like the Ivy League, but it was a good enough course with a full scholarship. Knowing my sister would hate it and try to stop me, I put my achievement on social media at the same time I told them. Even forced myself to thank them in the post. Now they couldn't forbid me from going, as they'd have to explain to the family why not. I guess my sister eventually got to them, and they changed gears and asked me if I was sure I wanted to go. They told me how my sister wasn't doing well in college, and since she was smarter and had better judgment than me, I'd suffer worse. I lied to them and told them that my courses were easier and that I'd be fine. They weren't happy with my decision, but couldn't stop me. College ended up being my savior, and for once in my life I was happy. I still contacted my parents and visited on holiday hard and got a scholarship. Not
My special sister.
hard. She told me since they were paying treated my whole life because of my special sister. She now tried walking down the aisle at my wedding, and I finally got payback. My sister finally finished high school, and you would think she became more grown up for college, but she was still the same. She got accepted into college but had no scholarship that could decrease the money burden. Her grades were bad in school, since whenever she got a B we would all celebrate. If she got an A, which was once in a lifetime, my parents would invite all of our families just to celebrate this. My parents, naturally, made a lot of fuss and told her they'd pay for everything. I thought her college departure would be the best thing to happen to me, but turned out that it was the beginning of very stressful years for me. Eventually, my mom came to talk to me about my upcoming high school graduation. She told me since they were paying for my sister's college, they had no money to pay for mine. So it would be better for me to where they also made me. I lied to them and told them that my courses were easier and that I'd be fine. They weren't happy with my decision, but couldn't stop me. College ended up being my savior, and for once in my life I was happy. I still contacted my parents and visited on holidays and such, but since they refused to pay for anything, during this time, I avoided introducing anyone to them, and I'm glad I did because this man ended up becoming my husband. Unfortunately for my family, my husband was the type of guy who loved drama. He won't forgive or forget, and he's probably cooking some revenge. People were baffled when I got together with him because of the big difference in character. Most people thought of him as an angry man, but he was the biggest sweetheart if you treated him with respect. When we discussed marriage, we decided we didn't care much about the ceremony due to our budget, as we'd rather spend it on our honeymoon. We sent out the engagement announcement and saved the date for a few months later. My parents didn't have the slightest clue and naturally demanded they meet my man. I wanted to grow a spine and refuse, but was having a hard time. The distance had made me think maybe my parents weren't so bad. Well, my husband looked like I canceled Christmas when I told him I would at least ensure they were never alone with him. He had been getting ready for this because he knew what to wait for. He even bought a high-quality recorder he could hide in a pocket to record it all. He was stoked, thinking of all the ways he could refuse my sister's advances, insult her, and then spread the recording of her attempts to my family. I refused to go with him, so he went alone and excited to meet them. When he came back an hour later, he had the most euphoric look on his face. Before I could say anything, he started shouting baby won't believe the awful thing they wanted. We have so many opportunities to F them over. I was confused and wanted to hear the recording, but he told me it was better to listen to him first or else I'd misunderstand him. As I was listening to his story, I realized I made the best decision of my life by choosing this man as my husband. You can check for part 3. By pressing share then more. Part 3 I was mistreated my whole life because of my special sister. She now tried walking down the aisle at my wedding. Happened to me, and I was happy that there was someone who would finally stand up for me. Part 2 I was mistreated my whole life because of my special sister. She now tried walking down the aisle at my wedding, and I finally got payback. My sister finally finished high school and but was having a hard time. The distance had made me think maybe my parents weren't so bad. So he went alone and excited to meet them. As I was listening to his story, I realized I made the best decision of my life. He went over to my parents' house to meet them, and when he came back, he told me how many chances we had to mess them over. I asked him to tell me what he meant, and he began telling me what had happened. My parents weren't necessarily happy with my husband because of his aggressive character, but they said how we're willing to pay for my wedding, on one condition. My sister would walk down the aisle on my wedding first and in a wedding dress. My husband asked why, and they said that it wasn't okay for a younger sister to marry first, so it was only fair if my sister had at least the experience of it. My husband told me how he recorded the entire conversation with a grin on his face. He didn't try to say no to my parents, because he was planning revenge. My husband told me how this was a perfect opportunity for revenge and it helped me get out of a horrible headspace. We had a blast thinking up ways to mess them over this. We then called his much more level-headed brother when we decided on a plan. It involved having 2 venue addresses and giving them the wrong one. My husband's brother scolded us for this idea, calling it unethical and a horrible thing to do. So instead, we decided to invite my parents and hire security and not let them in. We also created the best scheme to get my parents to pay for the most expensive wedding we could get. My husband went back to my parents and said that he was willing to accept their offer, even though I wouldn't like it. He pointed out I don't like conflict, so if I was surprised, that she